Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
As we start the new year, 2020, I want to go on notice and say this about this program. This program is politically incorrect. We say very proudly, and we do, Merry Christmas, one nation under God. We salute our flag, and we give thanks to our great military troops. If that offends you, please listen to Barry Manilow. Right now, here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning, everybody. Starting the new year. Let's start it right. And a good morning to you and yours. My goodness, it's good to be back in the saddle again at Zeb at the Ranch. And we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of your wintertime driving tires. You stop in and see them today. Along with some of our great advertisers, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, Greystone Crossing, Independent Senior Living, 1221 21st Street in Hayburn, seniors living the good life with friends. Let's go to the phone line and have our first person give the Pledge of Allegiance for 2020. Good morning.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, thank you, Linda, my dear friend. God bless you and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Bless you and welcome back.
Oh, thank you very much.
I hope you had a great vacation.
Oh, by the way, Linda, hold on a second. Are you still there?
I am.
I understand that I should say this to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. There you go.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
God bless you. Have a good day. Thank you so much. What a wonderful lady. Deanne just jumped in and told me and reminded me about Linda's birthday, so I appreciate that. Let's go to the weather forecast real quick. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. They're located right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. You couldn't miss them. I mean, man, they got all the tools and equipment. I mean, they got a bunch. They've got all the excavators. They've got everything out there, including the snakes for your drains, so you don't have any problems, okay? Check it out. Anything you need, and you have questions about what you need, call Roger and the crew at 678-3122. Right now, here's the weather.
Fairly decent as we kick off the week, but as we make our way towards the weekend, maybe some snow showers. Here's a look at your weather for today. Mostly sunny skies, a little bit of a breeze out of the southwest at about 15 miles an hour, gusts as high as 30. We are expecting a high of 36 tonight. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 25 tomorrow. Partly sunny with a high of 38. Now by Tuesday, we do have a 30% chance of snow showers, mostly in the overnight hours, expecting a low of 28. Accumulations of less than a half an inch possible. By Wednesday, more snow is possible, mostly cloudy, high of 37. Then by Thursday, expecting mostly cloudy skies and 32. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
It's wintertime. I don't like all that angel dandruff, but I guess we're stuck with it. Don't forget K&R Rental, of course, at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. All all your tools and equipment for both long and short-term rental. Questions about what you need? Give them a call, 678-3122, K&R Rental. Really nice people. I know a place I've got to stop into, and we're going to do that right after the program today because I am almost out of shirts. I mean, holy smokes, with the 2 weeks off and all the different happenings that we had to go to and everything, I've got to get over to Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Cindy. Please help me. I've got a great big bag full of rumply crumplies, and I'll bet you do too. Maybe you've got tablecloths. Uncle Herman, he spilled all the cranberry sauce on Christmas, and maybe the drapes and everything needs cleaning. Oh, my goodness, you better stop in. These are wonderful people. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, and they're waiting right now to serve you. We had an outstanding Christmas and New Year's, and I want to take some time to say thank you to everybody for your well wishes. We had a lot of cards from our listeners. Thank you from the bottom of our heart. And we had the ham giveaway. And our dear friends Paul and Ellen Peterson sent us a nice thank you for their ham, and that was really nice, too. I appreciate that. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please. And they're backing up with the dial tone, and hopefully they'll call back. Give us a jingle. I want to remind everybody that today the 2020 legislative session starts in Boise. And next Monday, a very important day on Zeb at the Ranch, we are going to be starting our legislative update coverage at 10:30 on Monday mornings, and it's sponsored by Handy Truck Lines. Every Monday at 10:30, we're going to be talking to either Speaker of the House Scott Bedke or Representative Fred Wood or Senator Kelly Anthon, and it's brought to you by Handy Truck Lines, and that's going to be starting next Monday after they get a week under their belt of trying to figure everything else that's going on. Caller, I'll be right there. I want to tell everybody real fast as I'm sucking on an old cough drop here this morning, that son of a gun and cough will not go away. And I'm sure a lot of people are having that same problem. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Don't forget they're open at 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday with literally all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. You better stop in or give them a call, 678-0459. Almost 7 decades, wow, of serving you, Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. Caller, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Just want to tell you I missed you. Looking forward to visit with you and all the great topics we got to talk about this new year.
Well, I appreciate that.
I really hope you enjoyed your time off.
I did, Riley, and I had some criticism of the time that we were gone for literally about 11 or 12 days, I think. But, you know, I needed to just get away and refresh and refurbish myself and my attitude. And I'm refreshed and refurbished, and we're going to go like the attack dog starting this morning.
Well, there's no call for anybody to be upset about it. You don't ever really take any time off to rest.
Well, I appreciate that, and I want you to know...
In general, and you just needed to take a break like everybody else needs every now and again.
I appreciate that. I want you to know that we're going to be dedicated to doing the best we can on any and all subjects, and always know that your calls are appreciated. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And I'll just listen to see what your topic is, because I got quite a few on my mind, but we'll see what your topic is.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Riley. Thank you. We do have a lot of things to talk about, many of which I'm not going to have a lot of time for this morning, but of course you realize that President Donald Trump took out, and underline the words took out, one of the big terrorist threats to not only America but also the world, and that was that General Soleimani from Iran. And the criticism that's being leveled by the left loons in this country is absolutely abhorrent. And I salute Donald Trump for not he personally pulling the trigger, but giving the acknowledgement to get rid of this vermin. It was a very precise, concise attack, and the world was eradicated from having to have have that kind of a despicable human being basically being shielded by other innocent people. He wouldn't even get on an airplane that was a private airplane. He traveled basically commercial so that if anybody was going to go after him, they would have to also hurt innocent bystanders. He was a coward. He was a worthless coward. And I'm so glad that that man today, right now, I believe is rotting in hell. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. I want to remind everybody about Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley. Oh, that wonderful Christmas party that we had over there prior to the Christmas break was absolutely phenomenal. And I thank Thomas and, of course, Michelle and the rest of the staff. The food there is great. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner anytime, all the time at our friends at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. And believe me, excellent choice of desserts, too. So you stop in and enjoy the great folks and food at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Welcome back, Zeb and Deanne. Good to hear you again.
Tony, thank you so much. I believe I ran into you at a grocery store the other day, and you're looking very fit and chipper.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm still fit, but chipper, I don't know. There's one issue that we keep getting these threats from Iran. They're going to be damage to our country. I'd like to know, I'm kind of curious about this, how much control does Iran have with these terrorist training camps in this country? And when they talk about revenge, are they talking about spilling their troops out into the streets from these terrorist training camps?
Well, Tony, that's speculation on my part, and please bear with me on my answer. Nobody knows the intertwining, if you will, of how the terror organization could spill out into, like you said, our streets in America and or other points of the world. I am very concerned that now we've got our boot on the neck of the power of Iran, and I don't think we should let off. If there are others that can be taken out, I say do it. And a lot of people forget the people of Iran hate this administration that was with Soleimani and many others. They hate them. And the media is forgetting about that. And basically, I just hope that we can put our boot even tighter on the throat of Iran and put them back to what they are, a camel jockey nation that only has one export, and that is oil. And they don't give us that much in oil. We are basically fishing on our own behalf. We don't rely on them. And I hope that they have nothing to do but pound sand. That's my absolute feelings about Iran.
Well, thank God we've got a president up there that's a mixture of General George Patton and Teddy Roosevelt.
But we also have a bunch of cowards in this country that are milquetoast people, as was seen yesterday, with many of the Democrats like Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, their criticism, little loopy, pencil-necked Adam Schiff, and then the Hollywood Brigade at the Golden Globes last night that were basically showing sympathy and remorse for General Soleimani, a man that has killed literally thousands of people. I do not understand how evil the demented left is in our own country.
Well, I'm a little disappointed what I've seen up there in Boise. It sounds like we got the granola bunch up there in Boise spilling their garbage.
Well, I think, honestly, this legislative session, and I'm probably putting my foot into the pool of water without really knowing because they're just starting today, but I think there's going to be a lot of issues that are going to come up at this legislative session that I think we're going to have to really dedicate some time to because common sense has got to prevail. That's what's lacking, not only in the legislative session this year, but also nationwide. And toughness. Common sense and toughness are the two words I hope they stay with.
Well, we live in the free state of Idaho. Let's keep it that way.
God bless you. Hey, so good to hear from you. Say hello to Mary for me. Thank you.
Certainly will.
All right, take care. Thank you much. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Hayburn. Hello. They want to take care of your animals. We've had a stretch of cold weather, like you know, and I urge you to make sure that they have all the access possible for good water. They need a lot of water this time of the year. And I also urge you to make sure that you're up on all their vaccination programs. If you got pets, you got livestock, take care of them. Please don't forget, if there is a problem, call Ark Animal Hospital at 678-1177. That number again, 678-1177, Ark Animal Hospital, where they have warm hearts for cold noses. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Happy New Year's, Zeb. I'll tell you, we've got a lot of problems ahead. And the legislature, one of the things that really concerns me is that we just seem to think that by throwing more money at education, that's going to correct the problem.
Yep.
You know, it's always, that seems to be the mindset. All the budgets were on the table except for education. They want to add another $100 million. And I'm telling you, as long as we have Common Core, we're just dumbing down these kids. And but it's been so well indoctrinated into university faculties, and the teachers are young teachers coming out. I testified before the state school board secretary that took comments here in Twin Falls a couple months ago, and all the young people, the young teachers, they all thought Common Core was the best thing since sliced bread. Well, facts don't prove that out. Just look at our reading scores and our math scores and everything else. We're just dumbing down our kids. The other comment that I wanted to make, Zeb, is I'm afraid that this $40 million of Medicaid expense, extra expense, is coming down the road. It's going to fall right back to the counties and back to the property owners.
I agree, and let me get a word in here, Adrian, on a couple of things. Number one, I know that there are many stories that have been put forth in the illustrious Never Make a Mistake Times News newspaper, and I say that tongue-in-cheek, about the quality of education here in the state of Idaho and everything else. Well, I'm going to tell you something right now. We have a population that is coming in, and it's a changing population. In other words, here today, gone tomorrow, with some of the students not being from this country, the toughness of trying to learn and adapt not only our language but also to our educational standards, and it on an aggregate brings the scores down. I am not going to condemn education in the state of Idaho. I think a person that does that is a fool. I think they're doing the very utmost with what material and funds they have, and I can't see just throwing money at something is going to correct any sort of a problem.
Well, that's the whole problem, and it always seems like that's the liberal neocon way of doing things, fixing things. Let's throw some more money against the wall and hope something sticks.
Yeah.
As long as the basis is there. I mean, we're not studying about the history of our country, what made us great, what made us the greatest nation on the planet, and it's being destroyed and has been for the last century. There's been an active movement, fifth column, if you want to call it, to bring this country down to its knees, and because of the strength of our Constitution, Declaration of Independence, they haven't been able to do that. You realize, Zeb, that the communists wanted to have working control of this country by 1976.
Yeah.
That was the goal.
Yep.
And they came very close to it in many regards, but they still have never been able to quite pull it out, because there's enough patriots out here, including yourself, that have fought against this totalitarian socialist stuff. But just look at, there's a good chance that the Democratic nominee will be a full-blown socialist / Marxist running on their ticket.
No, I understand. Adrian, I hate...
That's really scary. Gary.
I know it is, and I hate to cut you off, but I've got to do a couple of things real quick before the bottom of the hour because I've got Debbie Critchfield coming on. But I want to tell you something. We are dedicating ourselves all over again on this program with the reinvigoration of fighting back at stupidity and a leftist means of taking over this country. We're going to stay on the attack, my dear friend. God bless you. Thank you.
You have a great day, and we need to get informed. I recommend look up thenewamerican.com. They have daily five or six daily reports from journalists on all the subjects, and it's called thenewamerican.com.
All right, sir.
I would strongly recommend that to your audience.
All right, Adrian.
Great new year.
Thank you, sir. God bless. Happy New Year to you, too. Thank you so much.
Bye now.
I want to tell everybody there's going to be a great, big, fun night at the Minnetonka Chamber of Commerce annual installation banquet on January 30th. Oh, yeah, I'm going to be there. My lovely bride's going to be there. It's on January 30th at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center, and the doors open at 6 p.m. Come on in. The evening includes dinner, auction, installation of board of directors and various positions, honoring outstanding individuals. I bit my tongue, it hurts, and businesses. And it's going to be great. For information and tickets available, please, and sponsorships of the event, call the Chamber at 679-4973. Minnetonka Chamber of Commerce Annual Installation Banquet, January 30th. Don't miss that. I'm going to give away some cookies real quick to Sophie's Chatterbox over on the square in Rupert. And God bless them as we start a brand new year. Delicious cookies. If you're the winner, be sure and get a hold of them and let them know when you'll be in for your cookies. They're located at 530 East Street in Rupert. Here's the question. And the first person to call with the right answer is going to win a dozen cookies. And it is on the TV show MASH, on that great television show MASH. What was Hawkeye's last name? On the TV show MASH, what was Hawkeye's last name? Give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587 if you want to win the cookies. Hurry! I can't wait. I got a lot of things to do. Give me a call on the TV show MASH. What was Hawkeye's last name? Oh, we've already got a caller. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Well, good morning.
Hi, Keith. How are you? Are you calling in for the contest?
Yes.
What's the answer?
Pierce.
Well, my good friend, how are you anyway? I appreciate it. Keith caught him. You are the winner. It was Hawkeye Pierce, and I'm so glad to hear from you real quick because, Keith, I'm out of time, and I've got another guest coming on the air shortly. How are things down in Las Vegas for the wintertime?
Well, they're cool, but not cold.
Okay. Well, you won the cook.
Donate my cookies to the staff at K-Bar that looked after this while you were gone.
Oh, that is a nice gesture. I'll make sure that Deanne takes care of that, and we'll recycle the cookies right back there to Scotty, Gina, and Wheels, and maybe they might save me a crumb, but by golly, we appreciate that. Keith, I do have to run to another guest right now, but I want you to call back when you can another day that we've got another subject to talk about. I appreciate that.
Will do.
God bless you, man. Thank you, and Happy New Year. That was really nice. He's going to rededicate the cookies to the staff over there at K-Bar. I appreciate that. I believe we're going to go to the phone line right now, and we have a wonderful lady that is the communications director for the Cassia County School System, and that's a good morning to Debbie Critchfield. Debbie, are you there?
I am. Good morning, Monday morning.
I know it's Monday. You know what? After 2 weeks off the air, I had to sit here literally for an hour and retrain myself.
I think that's how about 5,600 students are feeling this morning.
Oh, I can imagine.
Teachers.
I can imagine. Hey, real quick, you've got a very special event that's going on this evening at the King Fine Arts Center. You and I had talked briefly about it during the Denny's Christmas party while we were on the air over there. Give us a synopsis of what's going on tonight.
Colin Karchner is a national speaker on the impacts of social media on teens. And we are fortunate to have him this evening to present to the community. And we're inviting, the topic is that all 7th through 12th graders are going to be at an assembly today where he will speak directly to them in ways that are appropriate for them. And then 18 and up, which doesn't mean that anything is, not appropriate for children. It's just a different way to present the same material at the King Fine Arts Center, 7 p.m. this evening, and at 5:30 prior to in the Burley High School cafeteria, our Mini Kaja Suicide Prevention and Awareness chapter is offering a free dinner. And so we're encouraging people to come. This is something, a conversation that we hope that adults will participate in. We believe that it's an important enough subject that we're taking time away in the school day for students to hear it, and we think the community will find it of value as well.
You know, the main theme or the main gist of what you want people to understand this is about tonight, can you be a little bit more explicit and tell everybody why this is so important?
Well, it's a nationwide problem, not just a Kaja County problem, although we are no different in some regards, on the prevalence of smartphones and access, just this 24/7 access that kids have, how it is changing their brains, how it is impacting their decisions, how they are, frankly, the implications that it can have for our society. We need to be more aware of what we can do, where those boundaries are, where adults need and should step in. I recently heard some very terrifying statistics that since 2009, the number of 12th graders and 16-year-olds end up getting driver's licenses has sharply declined, along with the amount of young people that have worked for pay, have ever gone out on a date. There's some interesting studies that have been undertaken in the last few years, and for whatever reason, 2009 is the year that it seemed that smartphones became just an everyday kind of household item for young people. And now scientists are able to look and see, okay, what's happening to the brain, and then what are the consequences, and what are some of the issues that we're dealing with because of some of these changes.
Absolutely. Folks, this is tonight with the parent and community dinner at 5:30 p.m. and then the presentation at 7. It's going to be at Burley High School's King Fine Arts Center. I urge everybody to be there. And Debbie, I guess the emphasis should be on the word free, but it's going to be a wealth of information.
Absolutely. We're hoping that people will bring their neighbors and bring maybe a piece of paper and a pen, take some notes, and I think that we can all benefit from the information and feel empowered to help our young people, which ultimately is going to help us all.
Absolutely. Debbie Critchfield, thank you for taking the time to come on my program this morning. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless. Thank you much. There is a lady that represents Cache County Schools as the communications director, and this is going to be quite a very interesting, not only interesting, but well-needed program tonight for parents, and I urge you to try to be there. Colin I'm going to start that all over again without biting my tongue. Colin Karchner, and it's called Save the Kids, and it's going to be at the King Fine Arts Center tonight, and with the free community dinner at 5:30, and then the presentation at 7. Don't miss that, please. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I I'm going to take that call momentarily. Caller, please stay by. I'll be right there, I promise. Trying to get everybody in, and I appreciate your call. Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location. And when you need equipment, and you need the best of equipment, and you need to get a tough job done, whether it's the lifting, the digging, the pushing, the carrying, the grading, the leveling, whatever it is, they've got it all. They've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators, and they got all the Bobcats, and if you're not sure how to run them, they'll teach you. Barry Equipment and Rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. You stop in and see those great folks today. Barry Equipment and Rental. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
You know, every morning I wake up and I think about how much I can get done and how much good I can do. And, you know, I don't think I'm anything special at all. I just am worried for our children, worried where our society is going to end up. And I don't think anybody's going to come here and clean up our mess, even Jesus Christ. And we don't know how long that will be. And as long as we neglect, we will end up with what we get. And, you know, we all need to be aware. I have grandchildren, and, you know, their phones, they all have them. They ain't they're all spoiled rotten, and I love them. But, you know, some of them are worse than others, and they're my own. And you say to yourself, they have grown up in a situation that you and I have no idea what it's like to be so addicted.
Yeah.
You know, some of these people are so in love with their technology, like she said, they don't even want to do nothing. They don't want to go out on a date. They don't even notice the opposite sex.
I know.
They don't want to go get a job.
Let me
want to do nothing.
Let me interrupt you there for a second, Randy. Let me get a two-part conversation going on here. I mean, if you want to get up on a soapbox, go ahead, but don't wave your magic wand and exclude me. All right. I will say everything that you said is correct, but I noticed something the other day that really scared me. I was waiting at the doctor's office, and two young people came in. I assumed they were probably in their mid-20s. I assumed they were married. They didn't say a word to each other after they had checked in. They sat there. Each of them had a separate smartphone, and they stayed. I sat there for half an hour waiting, watching them, and not one time did they say a word, but they just continually kept going with that phone. That's our society today. We've lost contact with each other. We don't know how to communicate with each other.
Absolutely not. It scares me to death. This is a little change of subject, but it's about young people, and I'll be done. My granddaughter was in Arizona over the Christmas holidays, and she comes back, and the first thing she said to me is maybe, "Hi, Grandpa. Did you know that we're going to have World War III?"
Oh, boy.
And I says, "Do you have any idea what you're saying?" And I says, the media, the social interaction between young people and how they're all brainwashed. And I said, "Do you have any idea what that means to have World War III?" And they all want to blame Trump. It's a scary thought.
You know, what you're saying is something that I've noticed over the weekend, not only with the youth in our country and they're basically texting and everything else on their smartphones. Oh, I heard that we're going to die in World War III. The Hollywood perpetration of this idea, the news media perpetration of this idea, and it's all because of Donald Trump. They hate him so bad they will do and they will vilify him with any and all problems. What was the feeling in this country after Obama sent the attack SEAL team in to kill bin Laden? Everybody was euphoric. Everybody was happy. Everybody thought that was great, that there was an end to a terrorist leader that will no longer face anybody on this face of this earth. But when Trump does the same thing to get rid of a general that has literally killed thousands of people and helped orchestrate the killing of thousands of people, they damn Trump. There is something wrong with our society.
Hey, now you can clarify this, and I'm going to just say this and hang up. Last night at the Golden Globes, which I would never watch, but they did a slight excerpt of it, and the host said, "Don't come up here and talk about anything but what you're supposed to, and then you can leave the stage." Is that true? Was that what happened last night at the Golden Globes? He didn't want him to get up there and attack and do politics.
Ricky Gervais was the host, and I think it's his last year of hosting the Golden Globes, and quite frankly, it may have been the last that they wished he'd ever showed up in the first place. He did make that statement, which I thought was good, but the truth is, he did mock Hollywood for their taking on political issues without having the brain matter between their ears to really understand what's going on, and he alluded to that fact. It didn't do any good because many of these people got up there and used it as a forum to condemn Trump and condemn anybody on the right or conservative thinking, so it didn't really have the effect that they wanted.
Well, he even said something about Greta Thunberg, you know, the environmental teenager who doesn't know anything. He said she didn't know anything either.
Greta Thunberg...
He probably knew it was his last show.
Yeah, absolutely.
He decided to stand his ground with a little logic. I don't know.
Greta, wait a minute. You mentioned Greta Thunberg, and I want to elaborate a little bit on that. She is nothing more than a used, underline the word used, teenager. And because she was able to speak and take acting lessons and sit there before the UN General Assembly and cry her alligator tears over a subject that really she has no knowledge about other than what has been forced and fed into her brain is absolutely despicable. And so when people criticize Greta Thunberg, myself included, we've taken heat over it because, she's only a teenager. Well, then her parents should keep her out of the fray on a subject that she doesn't know one damn thing about.
Absolutely not. Yes, she's being used, and, yes, she's an absolute pawn, and of course she's probably getting rich because of it, which doesn't help.
Absolutely. Randy, it's good to start the new year off with you. You got my blood going, man. Thank you.
See ya.
All right, buddy. Caller number 2, before I do the weather, I'll take your call. Go ahead, please.
Hello again. You know, last night the Democrats had a debate. I didn't watch it or didn't even care about it. But it was said that Pete Buttigieg made an opinion on this person, whatever his name is, General such and such.
Soleimani.
Was a bad guy, but we shouldn't have killed him. Now, my question to you, Zeb, is, do you suppose he conferred with his husband before he made that mistaken statement?
I don't know. I mean, that's all speculation. But for the left to sit there and say, well, Trump shouldn't have done this and Trump shouldn't have done that, let's turn the tables a little bit, Keith, real quick before I go to the weather. What would have happened in the response from the left and in general from the world and all the populations around the world if Trump wouldn't have done anything and Soleimani would have orchestrated one of his many plots that he wanted to move into action to kill many thousands of people? Then they would have turned around and said Trump didn't do anything, he was worthless. I am so glad that Trump pulled the trigger on this man. I am so glad that Soleimani is rotting in hell right now, and to the liberal left, Hollywood, etc., and the rest of these goons that don't know Kamir from Sikkim, get tough, realize that America comes first and not the loony left.
If you think for 1 minute that this was the last plan they had on their docket, you're absolutely wrong.
That's right.
Because they had these other countries they were going to work on, too.
That's right.
They want to take over the whole Middle East.
I'm fed up and I'm absolutely sickened by the fact that our president, that has taken nothing but garbage from the left ever since he took over office, and then you have the facts of Louisiana Representative Al Green that started an impeachment movement before Trump even took over office. These people have nothing but hate in their heart, and they're doing everything they can to hurt this presidency.
Well, the one that's hurting Trump the most is the media.
Yeah.
A lot of these people don't listen to anything but NBC or MSNBC and all these places, and they get these ideas. They think, well, if we heard it on TV, it has to be true.
Yeah, I know.
After all, these things are true. You know, they go through the fact-checking process. No, they don't even know how to spell it.
Well, and the whole thing boils down to this, Keith, is that our society today is in too much of a rush to get from here to there and do this and do that, and they don't take the time to really study and analyze and understand really what's going on. It's good to have you back. It's good to have you call in on the program. I've got to run. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You have a wonderful day.
All right. God bless you, man. Thanks. I want to remind you that if you're having any hearing problems, maybe you noticed that when they were opening up all the presents on Christmas morning, you couldn't hear the unwrapping of the gifts, and you couldn't hear your grandkids and everything. Ooh, maybe you got a little problem with your hearing. Well, I urge you to get, hold on, caller. I urge you to get a hold of our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids and make a hearing screening appointment. They can and they will help you. These are the hearing professionals. Call them. Make an appointment at 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology. And we'll tell you more right after Gina has the weather.
Fairly decent as we kick off the week, but as we make our way towards the weekend, maybe some snow showers. Here's a look at your weather for today. Mostly sunny skies, a little bit of a breeze out of the southwest at about 15 miles an hour, gusts as high as 30. We are expecting a high of 36. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 25. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a high of 38. Now by Tuesday, we do have a 30% chance of snow showers, mostly in the overnight hours, expecting a low of 28. Accumulations of less than a half an inch possible. By Wednesday, more snow is possible, mostly cloudy, high of 37. Then by Thursday, expecting mostly cloudy skies and 32. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. 26 degrees outside right now. And, of course, I urge you to get a hold of our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Medically based diagnostics and treatment process to help you and your hearing. Please call them. Make an appointment at 312-0957. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you for your patience.
Good morning, sir, and you sound wonderful, like that rest has done you good.
Let's just say that the tank is filled with high octane, and we're making a charge at the left, and they better shore up their defense.
Exactly. And I got to hand it to President Trump. That man can make the Democrats lay all their cards on the table and show who they actually are fighting for in Congress.
You know, I was sitting here thinking about what you just said, and I believe that Donald Trump has proven that he is a lot smarter about politics and a lot smarter about what's going on than the Democrats of Pelosi and Schumer and Schiff and Swalwell and everybody else even gave him credit for. And I think their shock and their awe as to what this man knows and how he's conducted business so far has set them back on their hind pockets, and they don't know how to get up.
They don't. They're used to dealing with people that they have dirt on, that they can buy, that they can control. And President Trump, they have nothing.
That's true.
They can't buy him, so they can't control him. They've investigated him, 4 times in 3 years, almost 4 years, and come up with nothing. The man has no skeletons in his closet, or it would have come out.
Well, you know, one thing that really bothers me that's got to change, and I'm hoping that 2020 will be a kind of a new leaf turned over somehow, and that's the news media. I listened intently this weekend to members of the media from CNN, MSNBC, and I got to tell you, first and foremost, Doug, it turned my stomach to listen to these creeps, and that's what they are. But they came out and they damned and condemned, and they just absolutely distorted the news regarding President Trump and this missile attack, drone attack, if you will, on Soleimani. And quite frankly, the media showed sympathy sympathy for Soleimani being killed. I could not believe this.
Exactly. President Trump has a way of getting these people that are against America, that they want this country to be a socialist country, and getting them to, like I said, lay their cards on the table. Because the media is not for America. The way they lie and the way they distort stories shows that they are for Iran. Just like President Trump at the State of the Union address got all those Democrats in white to stand up and chant USA, USA. I mean, this man he's amazing on how he plays them.
But go to the other side of the card, real quickly. The other side of the card, and that is the Democratic promenade, if you will, for president. Whether it's Buttigieg, whether it's Bernie, whether it's Elizabeth Warren, Biden, whatever. Look at every one of those individuals. And Idaho, I want you to be listening right now. And for that matter, anybody at the sound of my voice on the internet service across the United States and the world, listen carefully to what I'm asking you. Can you honestly sit down, analyze, and discern any really good points from any one of those Democrats running for the presidency? Be honest. What do they want to do other than change, alter, or curtail the constitutional values that we have? Be honest with me and tell me I'm wrong.
You're not. They have no policies to make America better. They have no policies to move America forward in the world standings. All of their policies are to bankrupt this country, take us into a third world country so they can have a one world order.
You got it. And I just honestly don't understand. And I'm not criticizing all of the American public, but be honest, Doug, there's a huge percentage of these followers like lemmings going over a cliff that admire and worship the likes of Elizabeth Warren and wild-haired Bernie, communist socialist, and Biden and the rest of them that really have no context of what they're talking about, no understanding of how they want to make things better. All it is a hate Trump.
Well, they hate Trump for one reason. Trump has exposed how useless they are and how worthless they are and how crooked they are. And that's why they hate Trump, because he's not one of them.
Did you notice over the weekend, and I watched the playoff games for the NFL, I'm a football addict, I don't apologize, that's me, but all the ads that were on the air that were highlighting and featuring the left, Michael Bloomberg and Tom Steyer, the multi-millions of dollars that were spent by those two alone to try to sway the American public, it was unbelievable.
That's what I heard. I didn't watch any of them. I was busy doing some work in the house, and I went down to Twin to see that Crystal's nephew got installed as a pastor in a church down there. So
wonderful.
I wasn't able to watch them. I heard clips about it on the news that I watch about how many ads they bought.
Oh, my. Well, I'm going to tell you this much. I have reinvigorated my attitude to fight lunacy in this country. Somebody told me last week when I was in a meeting that, are you just going to stand by and let these things happen, or are you going to stand up and fight? And I said, my God, man, aren't you listening to this program? I have dedicated my heart and soul to fighting the left, and I'm going to continue to do so. I don't care if it's regarding abortion. I don't care if it's in regards to the LGBT. I don't care if it's about the lunacy of the left wanting to destroy our Constitution. I'm going to fight as hard as I can. But it takes listeners to get involved with me, and I appreciate that.
You bet it does, sir. And I'm standing right there beside you, not behind you, right beside you.
Doug, God bless you, man. Happy New Year 2020. Thank you so much.
Hey, and there's one thing I heard about this weekend, well, this last week, that a young lady got T-boned by another driver who was an illegal.
Yes.
Did not have a driver's license, did not have insurance, and owned a pickup somehow.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to Woods and them, and I want to find out if we can get some legislation in there that if you do not show insurance and you do not show you have a valid driver's license, you cannot buy a vehicle.
It should already be in effect, and I'm absolutely adamant that we have made so many appeasements to the illegal aliens in this country, driver's licenses, the ability to get behind the wheel without really having any knowledge, and their being here in general, and then the sanctuary policies that are going around this nation. Don't get me started with a lack of time, because I'll run right into the news. I got to run, buddy. Thank you so much.
Okay, anyway, hey, everybody, it's a new year. Let's continue supporting the senior centers. Let's continue supporting them because they still need the Meals on Wheels in January, February, March, and April.
Got you covered. Absolutely. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it. Our major sponsor, the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with the tires to get you through whatever the weather throws at you. I mean the snow, the mud, the yuck, the ice, everything else. Oh, my goodness. They've got the best of tires, all the different tread designs, all the sizes for your vehicles and all your tire chains. The best in brake service, absolutely, with the highly trained brake technicians. Front-end alignment shocks and struts and batteries. Oh, you better have a good battery with these colder mornings. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike in Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pauline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to run to the news. I'll be back in 7 minutes. Oh, here we go. We've got the horse saddled and ready to ride for the next hour. And good morning, Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires to get you through whatever the wintertime weather throws at you. And don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And they're helping you get back to being you, along with Greystone Crossing, Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. And right now in this new year, let's find out about our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Wow, do yourself a favor, and if you've got garbage on the back porch, you've got garbage out in the garage, and you don't know what to do, how do I get rid of my garbage? Call 734-6969. I'll tell you what, they will be there. They'll get you on the route service. Come by, pick up your garbage. It is gone. It is out of there. No worries, mate. You can get rid of it easily. Call Western Waste Services. Always at your disposal. 734-6969. Want to remind you again about the great big happenings at the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce Annual Installation Banquet, January 30th at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center. Doors open at 6 p.m., and it's going to be a night of dinner, auction, installation of board members, honoring great people in this area. Tickets are available at the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce office. Please call 679-4973. That number again, 679-4973, Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce Installation Banquet, January 30th. Nope, don't you dare miss it, okay? One other item I want to get on before we talk to Rick. I want to mention everybody that maybe through the holidays, you were lifting some of those very expensive goodies that you received, and you hurt yourself, strained your back a little bit or your legs. Well, maybe you'd better call Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, and make an appointment and let Nick Greenwell and all of his great physical therapists help you get back to being you. Absolutely. Number to call, 678-1191, 678-1191. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be over there at about 1 o'clock this afternoon. They're helping me. They can help you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 678-1191. There's a gentleman that's been on my program now for, I think, almost over a year, and I have the utmost respect for his political analytics, if you will, and how he explains things. He is also the co-author of a great new book called Necessary Noise, co-authored with Star Parker, and he's the president of Americans for Limited Government. Rick Manning, good morning. Happy New Year.
He's there, sir.
Hi, Rick. I just gave you all the accolades, and I'll say it again. Good morning and Happy New Year to you.
Good morning. I was busy pontificating, sorry.
I've pontificated myself, as a matter of fact. I want to get right to some serious business this morning, Rick, because what you know and how you express yourself are very valuable to me on this program. I salute Donald Trump and his administration for taking out a very bad guy, General Soleimani, and I am sick and tired of hearing the left whine like a bunch of puppies because, number one, they weren't notified, and number two, they didn't think it was such a great action. Would you tell me your thoughts on that action that was taken?
Soleimani was somebody who's been at war with the United States for at least 25 years. His actions have caused the deaths of hundreds, if not thousands, of Americans. He has planned terrorist activities that were prevented from happening here in the United States. He's responsible for most of the proxy wars that are going on all around the Middle East, and he is. And so, the fact is, Donald Trump did the world a favor.
Absolutely.
And it's for those who sit there and want to, jump up and down. I have one thing to say to them. Whose side are you on? I mean, you get down to this. This guy was engaged in putting proxy armies together to kill Americans. If the American government is not willing to stand up and try to protect Americans who are abroad, or our military, who we put in harm's way, the president sends our military and puts them in harm's way. If he's not willing to do what's necessary to protect them, then he should step down. And anybody who's in Congress who's not willing to do what's necessary to protect our people who are abroad, the people who take up arms with the trust that their leaders are going to send them into harm's way to meet America's interests and not for any other reason. If you're going to lay those people out there and let them be sacrificed because Soleimani is too big to kill, well, you aren't a leader, and you have no business being an elected representative of the United States. Go run for something at the UN. But we're not going to put I would hate to be Donald Trump and have to look people in the eye who lost arms, legs, lost loved ones over in Iraq, Afghanistan, elsewhere, based on this person's activity, and say, well, I had the opportunity to get rid of him, but I didn't take it, and so every single person who's harmed based on him moving forward is on me. I mean, how could Donald Trump live with himself if he hadn't taken the shot?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, Donald Trump did the right thing.
Absolutely, and so well stated. And I got to tell you, after all the news reports that were coming out and the little tidbits from Hollywood and the tidbits from the media, the CNN, MSNBC, etc., and everyone else that almost eulogized General Soleimani, I say to them, damn you for your absolute anti-American attitude. That's my feeling, and I'm sticking with it.
I'd say thank you for revealing who you are. I'm sorry. There are points in time where people reveal themselves, and we're in one of those points of time where the goats are being separated from the sheep, and we're seeing that right now on a lot of things. When the New York Times and the Washington Post, basically call him a great leader, heroic leader, and another CNN, I remember CNN, MSNBC, that did a whole thing of him, reading poetry and trying to make him into some kind of Rod McEwen. The fact is, let's just be clear. The guy was a stone-cold murderer.
Yes.
He was murdering people in Iraq to push the Iranian agenda and to create Iranian hegemony in Iraq, and he had successfully done so. He's behind the Houthis, who are in Yemen, attempting to overthrow the Yemeni government, so the Iranians can put an Iranian proxy on the border of Saudi Arabia. He is engaged in terrorist activity throughout the Middle East and throughout the world, and he was using the money that we sent to them to do it. So, if anybody has blood on their hands in this whole thing, it's the Obama administration, who sent them the money to fund their terrorist activities, because that money, we know from the protests of the people on the streets in Iran, didn't go to the people of Iran. It went to foment revolution around the world, and it was Obama's policy that caused that, and Donald Trump took out the person who was the head of the snake running that network. And he did the right thing, and I don't think anybody should apologize.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question or a comment, Rick, and caller, quickly, please, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, I applaud President Trump for what he did. He did the right thing for our country. He's always tried to do the right thing to protect our soldiers that are in harm's way. I think a lot of our problem is our education system. We teach too much history and not enough of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. We need to teach our people that we're not a democracy. We are a representative republic. Most people in this country do not realize that.
I agree.
And I think that's a big, big failure.
I agree with you.
Education system.
I agree with you, caller, and I love your remarks, and I want Rick to respond to that. Rick, please respond to the caller.
If we don't retake the education system, everything we do is for naught. So you're exactly right, and part of that is teaching American exceptionalism. The current education system focuses on those things that the ills. They focus on slavery and the like, and they don't focus on anything that makes us great, makes us different. And as a result, we're growing people who hate their own country. And the country cannot survive that. So if we do not take over the education system, retake the curriculum, it doesn't matter. And quite honestly, this is something you can do at your local level.
Rick, I want to say this.
Take the curriculum at the school board level and at your state level, and basically tell the federal government to pounce in. By the way, Donald Trump, just so people know, Donald Trump's education department has moved to get out of the K through 12 business. So they are doing, from the Department of Education standpoint, moving to get out of K through 12, which means it's time for people like the caller to get into K through 12 and expect those people who are your local leaders to start doing their job to make sure American exceptionalism is taught in schools.
Amen. Rick, let me say this, and I'm not a vast knowledge encyclopedia like you are with what's going on. You're closer to this every day than I am. But let me just state this. There were people on the news all weekend, the loony left, that were saying, oh no, Trump's actions are going to get us into war. Why, they're going to retaliate, and it's going to be so ugly, and it's going to be so terrible against... No, I look at it this way. Trump drew a line in the sand and said, if you kill an American, I'm coming after you. And if you do anything in response to make it worse, I'm going to come after you harder. And I think that these people in Iran have got to realize they have nothing to export but oil. That's it. And on a limited basis, more so today than in other years. They'd better shut up, look at their whole card, and pay attention to trying to work with their populace to make their country better instead of antagonizing more world problems. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what they have to do. The challenge they have is the populace isn't all that excited about them, and they're a repressive regime at home, and so you have they try to keep people busy by focusing on foreign entanglements that they can cause people to hate the foreign. They kind of pushed the ball forward from an Iranian, a Persian perspective, and that's the nationalism that they call on. I don't know what the government of Iran is going to do. What I do know is there were 11 attacks on U.S. installations by Iranians or Iranian proxies in the last 2 months, and including an attack on our embassy in Baghdad. The attack on the embassy in Baghdad was reminiscent of 41 years ago when the Iranian government really got its start by taking the U.S. embassy in Tehran. And we all, those of us who were above the age of 50 remember that. But remember, that's 41 years ago. So the average person who's even middle-aged doesn't remember that. So, and not as a lifetime experience. They might have read about it, but it wasn't a lifetime experience. The humiliation of that experience here in the U.S. But in Iran, it's almost like remembering Independence Day. And so by going after the Baghdad embassy, they were symbolically doing the same thing in Iraq so that they could say Iraq is now an Iranian vassal state and is not anything independent, and the U.S. has no place here. That's what they were doing when they attacked the embassy. And Soleimani, arriving there, was going to walk through the streets of Baghdad unencumbered and say, the Americans are scared, sheltered in their embassy, and I'm walking the streets of Baghdad. Where's the power lie in this equation? So this was all about a power play, and attacking our embassy was part of that. And if they'd taken the embassy, they've been dealing with a different president, a previous president, and they'd taken the embassy, it would have been a replay of what they did with Carter back in the 70s. So understand that history, and that's why when we got hard intelligence, he was coming into Baghdad airport, and I understand we got it from 3 different sources, who would be very surprising in terms of where we got it from, if what I was told is correct. We knew this guy was coming in, and by taking the action we took, we sent a definitive message to the people in Iraq that this is your country, not theirs. And if you don't want to be an Iranian vassal, you don't have to be. We're not going to fight your battle for you, but we're not going to let them run a bunch of militias around that are oppressing the people of Iraq. That's what we said. That was the message we sent, and it just flipped as the other side of the coin. And he stepped out. He stepped out on faith that he was clean and was without any capacity to be harmed, and he lost. What are they going to do now? I think they're not going to do anything. But if they do, the weight they have to put in is we can wipe out their oil fields in about 4 hours. They've got 8 refineries. They've got 8 refineries refine 85% of their oil. We can wipe out the 8 refineries in the blink of an eye. And at that point, Iran starves. And and ultimately, they want to play that. If they want to play, that can happen.
Rick, all that being said, one question that keeps haunting me, and I wanted your expertise on this. There seems to be a growing number of dissidents in this country. Young people, the millennial generation, Hollywood, the news media, that their numbers are growing in absolute hatred for conservative principles and for protecting ourselves and our country. Do these numbers of growing individuals that are on the left, does it surprise you, and does it make you pause for fear, or are they controllable numbers? And how can we change the situation in this country?
I think your caller had it right. We have to deal with the education system, A. B, we have to be able to we have to figure out how to talk to each other. And it's not and the challenge we have is with the Socialist Party, the AOCs, there's no talking to them because they're not even on the same baseline as we are. You have members of Congress who are actively mourning Soleimani, and and the fact that we've allowed populations to enter this country in the last 10 years who don't support the United States, they support the Soleimanis of the world, is to our own shame. So we have to get a lot of things under control to do this. But one thing I think is true is that ultimately truth wins. We just have to not be afraid to keep telling it.
What do you see right now on this January 6th, and we're only months away from the election? Are you seeing a deterioration of the Trump support? Are you seeing an increase? I've talked to many people over the last 2 weeks that voted against Donald Trump in the last election, and they said they were voting for him this time because of the Democrats' action and the impeachment mess. What are you hearing, and what are you seeing?
The polling doesn't really tell us much, but I will tell you anecdotally, the Democrats real people who don't pay that much attention to politics have looked up and said, what the heck happened to those guys? And it's and as a result, I think we have a transformation. I think the Democrats have left the vast middle. And just in the 60s, where we had people, rioting in the streets all across the country, it led to Nixon winning in 68 and then Nixon winning in a landslide in 72, in spite of all the riots, because the average American said, I'm sick of this. I'm not putting up with this. And they came out to the polls, and they, the silent majority woke up. I don't know that the silent majority is as big as it was. I do know that that it still exists, and that there will be and so I anticipate that while people might not say that they're supporting Trump, and to a pollster, I think that Donald Trump is going to be difficult to beat in places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, and if that's the case, then the Democrats can't win.
Absolutely. Real quick, I've got 30 seconds left. Co-authoring this great book with Star Parker, yourself, and the writing of Necessary Noise. How is the book doing through the Christmas holidays and into the new year?
It's doing well, and we've been very pleased with the reaction to it, and it's we wrote this as kind of something for the long haul, so people would be able to know how we got to where we're at and how we hopefully can get out from the back end of it. And so it's not just written for a short picture in time. But I think it's easy read, but I think it's an important read. And if anybody wants to get it, just go to Amazon and or go to rickmanning.com, and it'll take you directly to Amazon.
I want to tell you how great it is to start the new year off with you on the program, President of Americans for Limited Government, Rick Manning. God bless you, my dear friend. Oh, by the way, the Patriots are out of the playoffs.
The Patriots are. In fact, I would have to tell you just real quick that I would not spend a lot of money betting on Aaron Rodgers this coming week, because it appears that the over 35 quarterback crew have hit may not be their year. So it's and they're gonna. I don't know. I don't believe omens, but Rodgers didn't have a great year this year, and I have this sneaking suspicion that Green Bay may be in for some trouble.
Thank you for making my day such a great, optimistic day. I appreciate that. God bless you, man. See you next week. Rick Manning, thank you so much.
Also, I will tell you, I am the world's worst football prognosticator.
Well, I hope in this
Anyway.
I hope in this case you are wrong.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, God bless you, man. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Rick Manning, President of Americans for Limited Government. I value his friendship and his being on this program. Want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, starting a brand new year, and they want you to know, in case you've just moved into this area, they are there to help and to serve you. When there's the passing of a loved one, they are always there and always committed to the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity in serving all the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort. Please remember the telephone number, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, family, and his staff. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Paint Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Before we go to our next guest, I also want to acknowledge the fact a lot of snow out there up in the hills, and I'll tell you what, it's time to Let's Ride. Absolutely get over to Let's Ride. They've got all the snowmobiles. They've got all the snow bikes. They've got all the accessories. Whoa, get outside. Take a deep breath of that fresh Idaho air and just turn the engine on and go. Have fun. Have fun. That's what it's all about. This is where the fun is sold at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. And like I said, they've got all the accessories, and they've got a super service department to keep you running. Oh, yeah, let's ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Yep, true. This is where the fun is sold. Right now, we are going to join a very dear friend of mine back in Golden, Colorado, and I say good morning to a man that I'm going to kind of set the stage a little bit for what we're going to talk about this morning, and that is the idiocy, the absolute idiocy of giving illegal aliens driver's licenses. And I want to get his response to this. I've had so many people call and ask if Frosty can comment on this morning. So here we go. Good morning, Frosty Woldridge. How are you?
Well, good morning, Deb, and Happy New Year to everyone. And I hope that the new brand spanking year kicks off and really makes things better, go forward, personalized, and live now.
Frosty, I can tell you right now we're going to have a problem because the phone is cutting out. We're having that VoIPing problem like we did a couple of months ago. And is there any way you could call in on a solid line? Is that possible?
Yeah, well, I am on a solid line, but I can call you back real quick.
Yeah, do that if you could, please, because we're having some problems picking it up, and I know Wheels is going to do the best he can. While we're waiting for your call back in, Wheels, what was it, a problem with his phone line on his end?
Yes, sir, because he sounded clear there for a second, but then he started breaking up again.
Okay. All right. Hopefully he can call back in, and we'll get him on the air. Dear friend Frosty Woldridge. Right now, I also want to tell you, while we're waiting for Frosty to call back, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, the best of life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and more from people that are really dedicated to serving you. Accessible and devoted to providing you the best of coverage and sitting down and really analyzing your situation and helping you. That's what it's all about at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. The number to call, make an appointment, please do, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. I hope we've got a better line, and my dear friend Frosty Woldridge, let's try it again. Is he there, Wheels?
Yes, sir, he is.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Frost.
We're all here, Zeb. Thank you very much, and again, Happy New Year to everyone listening, and of course, we got a brand spanking new 2020 to work with, and I hope everyone's going to do very well.
You know, Frosty, you and I was thinking about this morning prior to going on the program with you. We've been talking about issues about illegal aliens and all the problems with sanctuary cities and the laxity of our government protecting us but giving more protection to illegals coming into our country along with the refugee system. I'm at a point where this year I'm going to do even more to fight this insanity. But it looks like there are people like Cuomo in New York and other states that want to just give a free pass to illegal aliens and offer them driver's licenses, which I think are absolutely going to make another 911 almost a surety. Do you think I'm wrong?
I would say you're very correct. You have to understand right now that any and all terrorists are doing everything they can to come into the United States, certainly after this Soleimani killing by a drone over there in Iraq. You've got some really dedicated terrorists who want to take this country down. And you know, one of the things that most people don't realize is that all of the terrorists that the 19 terrorists that ran the planes into the Twin Towers and wherever else, and also dove one into the Pennsylvania ground there, they were all here on lax visas. They were here unaccountably, and everything that goes with that. And so with, again, the borders being open, and they are just as open as they've ever been, because I just went from San Diego last summer all the way down to Brownsville, Texas. I got to see exactly what's going on, and I can tell you that nothing has changed since 15, 20 years ago, and I've been down to that border now 6 times. The illegals can come in at any time. There's nothing stopping them. And so you've got that situation happening, and so Cuomo and giving driver's licenses to these people, we're almost ensuring another terrorist attack in our country.
Yeah, but Frosty, here we sit on the radio and we talk about this, and here we're talking about illegal aliens that are not members of our society. They are not citizens of this country, and we are affording them a driver's license, which you know as well as anybody, or more, that driver's license could and may allow them to vote. It may give them passage onto an airliner. There's so many different things that license can be used for, and we're giving this privilege to people that don't belong here. The insanity overwhelms me.
Well, it also overwhelms me because as the Yale report of 2018 came out, we have 23 to 25 million illegal aliens in our country, and they're in all 50 states now. And they're even getting to move into elected offices in places like California and New York. They're embedding themselves in our very government. So you're seeing that kind of a consequence, but also they're starting to manifest their own language in the cities where they dominate. Chicago. I mean, Chicago right now, it has probably close to 100 different languages being spoken there. We know that New York has 800 languages being spoken, and New York City is no longer an American city. It's everybody else's city. And again, the sanctuary cities, and Denver, Colorado is one of them, Boulder, Colorado is one of them, now in excess of 500 sanctuary cities. So our own elected officials are violating their oath of office toward the Constitution. If this kind of violation of our laws continues, we're simply going to become another distraught, disparate country with no sense of unity, no sense of cohesiveness, and certainly no sense of being an American citizen, because there's so many that are illegally here that are not American citizens, and yet they get to do everything that we get to do, and that's the problem. American citizenship is being brought down to that of a third world country.
You know, Frosty, maybe I'm a voice crying in the wilderness. Maybe that's the case and others don't agree with me, or maybe most others don't agree with me. But when I heard that the Twin Falls Council and the mayor voted that they wanted to just openly welcome any and all refugees into the Twin Falls area, and for that matter, Idaho is one of the welcoming states, even though Donald Trump wants to cut back on the refugees. Do people realize the cost to doing this? Do they realize the danger to doing this? Do they realize we don't have any files or memoranda about these people? I mean, we're just opening the door for possibilities of great problems, and nobody seems to care.
And that is the crux of what's really going on, is that nobody is caring and nobody is standing up and nobody is speaking out. And again, as I've said, in the last almost 20 years now with you, since we first met and we've become friends, the American people keep thinking it's going to happen someplace else. What's happening to Los Angeles won't happen in Twin Falls. I can tell you this right now. If you bring in to Twin Falls another 20 or 30 or 40,000 or even 50,000 refugees, you will start experiencing what they're experiencing in France, what they're experiencing in Sweden, Stockholm, Sweden, Malmo, Sweden, Oslo, Norway right now, because I know, because my brother lives right there. They start their gangs. They start their drug networks. They start their illiteracy. They start destroying the schools. They destroy the infrastructure. They start creating ghettos, because that's what refugees do, because these refugees are coming from those places that they created, completely unsustainable, illiterate arenas in their areas of the world, and they're bringing them right here. And at some point, every person in Idaho, every person in Colorado, every person in South Dakota, if they keep bringing in those refugees, are going to see everything degrade toward that refugee who simply is not a part of America, doesn't have the intellectual horsepower to contribute, and simply becomes on the dole, if you will. It becomes a welfare, cyclical welfare. And that's what's going on right now, according to balance.org, and you can check it out, balance.org. We're paying out $319 billion every year. And of course, before this, I've been saying somewhere around $119 billion, but the latest figures are $319 billion across 15 agencies to take care of all these immigrants, both legal and illegal. So how long do we want to keep doing that? And what happens when it goes to $500 billion? Then it goes to $100 billion. Who knows? It's going to break the bank at some point, Zeb, and it's going to break our country as a cohesive America, because we have so many people from every place else and not our own country.
Well, your point is so well taken. There was a loopy op-ed put in our Times News newspaper the other day by a former Supreme Court judge here in the state of Idaho that I've arbitrated against him for a long time, saying that basically Jesus was a refugee with Joseph and Mary, and so that we should accept and elect to have all refugees come to this country. You reach a tipping point, and you reach an economic tipping point, to the point where this country, its value system, and its care for its own citizens is in jeopardy, like the Titanic, of going to the ocean bottom. And we're not far from that right now.
Oh, we're very much close to it. $23 trillion in debt. The interest on the payment of the $23 trillion debt is just horrifically in the billions and billions of dollars. And so at some point, whether it's a sociological tipping point where we lose our own culture, a linguistic tipping point where we lose our own English language that is the cohesive glue that holds this country together, or even the religious conflict that's coming at us, that person who advocates for more refugees is advocating for the death of his own children, for the suicide of his own country. That's the reality. And again, I would recommend for anyone, there is a new book out in Canada. It's called Canada in Decay. And it's a book that was written by a Canadian saying how fast Canada is decaying because it's becoming so multicultural that it's no longer Canada. And again, for those of you who don't know, Vancouver, which is close to Twin Falls, Idaho, is now 65% Chinese. 65% Chinese, foreign-born, now own Vancouver, and the Canadians have been run out. So we also have that book. It's called The Strange Death of Europe by Douglas Murray. I've got the book. I read the book. It's a sad, sad story, and I just ordered Canada in Decay. And again, we're going to see at some point, I might be the writer of the book myself, America in Decay and or The Strange Death of America. Again, those refugees are coming from a source that adds 83 million new babies net gain every year. I can't say this enough. So there is no end to the refugee line, and at some point there's no way we can sustain ourselves, and there's no way we can pay for or sustain the projected 140 million more people being added to this country in just 30 years from now, just 30 years by 2050. So either we stand up, we speak out, we say something, and in my latest piece, it's on News with Views, it's called At the Appointed Hour, What is America Doing to Itself? I say we must shut down the borders to all immigration if we hope to survive the 21st century.
There's another book. There's another book I want you to add to your list, and I am in the process of getting this lady on my program again. She was on my program 2 years ago, and that's writer Heather McDonald, and she was interviewed 3 times this weekend on Fox News about this new book called The Diversity Delusion. I absolutely am going to get her on the program and discuss this because she's in the same vein of thought as to what you just said.
Yes, I have the highest respect for Heather McDonald, and as a matter of fact, I've tried to get on Tucker Carlson, I've tried to get on Jesse Waters, I've tried to get on Dana Perino, I've tried to get on Martha McCallum there on Fox News. I've also tried to get on CNN with Anderson Cooper. I'm amazed because I speak the same language as Heather McDonald. I have the same knowledge that she does. And she's absolutely brilliant, and she's exactly right on, exactly what's happening to us when it comes to this delusion, if you will, that this multicultural diversity melting pot is going to work out. It is not working out, and it's going to only get more contentious, more conflicted in the coming years as those refugees continue to flow into this country. That's why I have, for the last 3 years now, said we must shut down the borders of the United States to all immigration, get our own house in order, get our own culture maintained, get our own language continued, make English the official language of America, and we have to do this if we hope to survive, not the whole 21st century. I would say if we hope to survive to 2050, that's only 30 years from now.
One final thought, and I want you to respond to this. I was just handed earlier, about half hour ago, a story about our Customs and Border Protection police and authorities. The left is accusing the Customs and Border Patrol of detaining over and above anybody that's Iranian. Well, why shouldn't they be detaining? Why shouldn't they be checking who these people are? Why is the left so hell-bent on letting these people in and having and possibly creating another 911 situation?
Because the left, actually, they think that all of these refugees think like they do. They think that they're going to, and of course they are, going to vote for them so they could put themselves in office, put themselves in power. What they don't realize is the complete backwash, if you will, of what these refugees are going to do to the country and do to all of America's culture, its language, our ethos. They simply have a mindset that doesn't understand the consequences. They haven't read what happened to Rome. They haven't read what's happened to Europe. They haven't read or seen what's happened to Canada. And so they simply think that we can continue to take unending numbers of people into the millions. And the fact is, exponential growth, and I'll say it again, cannot be sustained. It always ends in collapse of any civilization. And if those liberals continue to think that we can keep doing this, they're going to have a very rude awakening when that next 100 million more immigrants lands on this country within the next 30 years.
All I can say is what a great way to start the new year by having you on my program. God bless you, my dear friend, Frosty Woldridge, Golden, Colorado. I'll look forward to every Monday. Thanks for being so straightforward and letting us really hear how it is. Thanks, Frosty. God bless.
And God bless, and thank you. And Heather McDonald will really, really back up and support everything I've said for the last 20 years on your show. And she is brilliant, and she is all an American, and she is so well-versed. So get her on the show and really help educate your audience.
Absolutely. Thank you, my dear friend. We'll talk to you next week. Appreciate it.
Okay, Zip.
Frosty Woldridge, Golden, Colorado, my buddy, and I appreciate him very much. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you this hour by our friends at Phillips Oaks Good. Wheels, did something change over there? All of a sudden the sound went down a little bit. If you could check that for me, I'd appreciate it. The weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, and they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. These are people that are professional. These are people that really care about you, your family, and your business, and provide the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. I urge you to get a hold of them today. They have offices in Rupert and Burley, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Fairly decent as we kick off the week, but as we make our way towards the weekend, maybe some snow showers. Here's a look at your weather for today. Mostly sunny skies, a little bit of a breeze out of the southwest at about 15 miles an hour, gusts as high as 30. We are expecting a high of 36. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 25. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a high of 38. Now by Tuesday, we do have a 30% chance of snow showers, mostly in the overnight hours, expecting a low of 28. Accumulations of less than a half an inch possible. By Wednesday, more snow is possible, mostly cloudy, high of 37. Then by Thursday, expecting mostly cloudy skies and 32. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina does a great job on the weather. So fortunate to have her on this show. Hey, don't forget our sponsor, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. And, of course, they can help folks starting a business or a partnership or maybe a corporation. Maybe you want to expand your business and hire more employees. They've got the answers to your questions. Please get a hold of them today. They are the best at what they do. The professionals, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Holy moly, we got a lot of things cooking. I want to remind you one more time this morning that next Monday, it's very, very important, next Monday at 10:30, we're going to start our legislative update for 2020. And we're going to have Representative Fred Wood, Representative and Speaker of the House Scott Bedke, and Senator Kelly Anthon. They're going to rotate weekly as to giving us everything that's going on up at the legislative update. And our thanks to our dear friends at Handy Truck Lines. I'll tell you what, these folks have been serving businesses all over the Northwest, and I really appreciate them helping us with the presentation of the Idaho Legislative Update for 2020. Thank you, Handy Truck Lines, and don't forget, that is going to be on the air next Monday at 10:30. We'll start our update. While I have just a moment, I also want to mention about our friends over at Dino's Septic Service. My, you had a little problem? Maybe your septic tank needs pumping. Well, I'll tell you what, they can handle the job. And they take care of all the sewer and sink drain line cleaning, and they've got an excellent backhoe service, septic tanks and drain fields installed, liquid waste removal, all of this and so much more by people that really care. Dino's Septic Service. Fast, fair, friendly service, and believe me, call the numbers 436-6526 or 678-1638. Dino's Septic Service, with that big truck that says smells cargo on the way. You get a hold of Dino's today. Really, really nice people. One other good word, and then I'll take a phone call or two. I want to remind you about 7K Metals. I, last fall in November, was introduced to the value of building my own financial security and a kind of a bank that Deanne and I can have all to ourselves through silver purchases. And I absolutely believe in 7K Metals and what they can do for not only me, but also you and your family. And the silver purchases come right to your home. It's a savings opportunity for you and a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. I urge you to call the folks at 7K Metals and tell them that I told you to call. Please tell them I told you to call, and that's Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon Wilmot at 430-3259. Absolutely an excellent way for you to save for the future through silver and 7K Metals. Really good, folks. All right, time for some calls. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. I would love to hear from you. There is a note that I want to make before we go any further, and this is very, very important to me. Tomorrow morning, in the first hour of this program, I am going to spend quite a bit of time talking about an editorial that I read yesterday in the paper that infuriated me, and I think it should infuriate you also. It was an op-ed that was put in Saturday's paper, actually. I said Sunday. It was Saturday's paper. And it was an article written by Reverend Buddy Garing of the United Methodist Church of Twin Falls. One of the, and I'm teasing you, I know, on this because I don't have a lot of time to talk about it right now, it was one of the most despicable and worst written op-eds against guns and ownership of guns that I have ever read. I cannot and I will not at this time discuss all the reasons for my despising this article, and we're going to go into it tomorrow morning, so tune in because we're going to talk about this. I was shocked as to some of the statements that this so-called pastor made in this article. So tune in tomorrow morning. We'll talk more about that. I also want to remind you that we're going to be talking about our dear friends at Greystone. I want to just take a moment here real quick and pay tribute to the great folks at Greystone Crossing, senior living on Alfresco Road. That's 21st Street. Exactly, it's at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. What a beautiful place. And people that are going by and saying, gee, that'd be great for Aunt Martha, Uncle Fred, or whatever, or maybe themselves. You should call, make an appointment to see the beautiful facilities. Call Kelly or Matt at 650-4979. Make an appointment so they can show you around. Greystone Crossing Senior Living on Alfresco Road, just a mile east of Walmart. Absolutely wonderful people serving you at Greystone Crossing. You be sure and give them a call, 650-4979. Caller, real quick, I got about 30 seconds left. Go ahead.
Yes, okay, good morning, Zed. The first thing a dictator does to take your country over is to disarm the people.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and that's where it's headed. And when you hear, if you didn't get a chance to read that op-ed, I urge you to try to read it prior to tomorrow morning's program. It's one of the most disgusting, despicable ideas and thoughts. Everyone has a right to their own opinion, but to lump all gun owners into a category that he did in this article is despicable, and I'm really going to hit this tomorrow morning. Tony, God bless you for your call.
Okay, thank you.
All right, buddy. Got to run to the news. I'll be back in about 7 minutes. Okay, we're ready to rock and roll into hour number 3. Zeb at the Ranch on January the 6th, 2020 already. Holy moly. You get old like me and time flies. Our major sponsor, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires to get you through anything the weather throws at you on the highway. You stop in and see them today. And also we want to give a great big shout out and thank you to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And last but not least, Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Want to remind you that right now at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more, they're having the start of a great big January clearance sale. Shazam, Gomer used to say. 50% off certain recliners and mattresses, and they've got a great big, huge display of all the different recliners. You better stop in and try one on today. And don't forget, too, we're going to be telling you about excellent low prices on floor coverings as the month goes along at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland and Burley. Jeff and the crew serving you with the big January clearance sale at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. Right now, let's go to the phone line. And again, Wheels, my engineer, if you could boost up a little bit. Something happened during the last hour. We had a little diminishment of the sound, and if you could boost that up a little bit, Wheels, I'd appreciate it. We're going to go right now to the CEO of Life Flip Media, a GOP political analyst, and I had him on before. I like this guy. He's good. Eric Mitchell, how are you?
I am good. Happy New Year to you. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing great, and I'm so glad to have you on. By the way, I was looking at your picture, and were you also a pulling guard for the Green Bay Packers?
No. I was a running back in a safety. So no, I
Who did you play football for, Eric?
But I could be.
Who did you play football for, if you don't mind my asking?
I played at Sacramento State.
Well,
I'm a Folsom High School football player from back in the day in Northern California. Of course, everybody should know what Folsom is, thanks to Johnny Cash. But I was outside of the prison gates playing in the high school that's in that town.
Very well stated. Eric, I'm so glad to have you on this morning to start off our new year of programming. And I wanted to ask you a little bit, just what can you do to sum up this impeachment debacle, this mess that has been created by the Democrats, where we are, where they're headed, or what's going to happen? Look into your crystal ball and please share with me what's going on.
That is a great question. I was going to kiddingly say you should go kill terrorists and everyone will support you, but that apparently doesn't work. So, the impeachment, wow, where do we start? Nancy still has the documents sitting on her desk. She hasn't done anything. I read as recently as an hour ago she came forward, and she apparently has even bigger powers. She's now kind of moved on from the impeachment, at least for right now, and now she's going after to take away the president's ability to do his job and follow laws that we've actually had in place in the 70s over declaring war. She deflected 2 questions this morning regarding the impeachment. They're still sitting there. As we know, Mitch McConnell, over the winter break, did say that he was going to be moving this forward. They're on a short leash this week. So it's going to be an interesting week. They're dancing with a lot of things. I see it. I personally see it dying, but I think I said this the last time I was on. This is never going to survive a vote anyways. I think they know that. And now they have a new fish to fry, and they moved on. You know, the Dems and the Libs, they're very much on this ADD thing where their attention span doesn't last very long. So now they're mad at the president for killing a terrorist. So that's kind of where their attention is today. I saw Schiff on Sunday morning making the tour on Sunday morning media, doing his, the president's not allowed to do that. And, guy who never served is telling the world how it is.
Eric, explain to me in 2,500 words or less how in the world we were thinking in America that, oh my goodness, there's a hurry. Why? There has to be a change of the calendar. They're in such a rush for this impeachment when they were in the House hearings. My goodness, it had to be done in 24/7. All of a sudden, the brakes were put on, the car came to a stop, and somebody took the keys and threw them in the barrel pit. What happened?
They found out they don't have any evidence. They can't go take this before. They don't have anybody who's going to come testify and say any new evidence. They get past the House because they control that. They get to the Senate, they don't. And this is a public hearing where they're going to put these people up in front of them, and they're going to get asked questions by some pretty high-sitting Republicans that sit in the Senate. And they're going to ask these questions, and they're able to throw things out because they're not going to be on a warpath. Their time is valuable to them in the Senate. So they see this. They know that there's nonsense that they can get away with their daily press conferences. it's going to sit here and stall. They don't have anything. The smoking gun doesn't exist. Every time they've done something, Nancy got her wish. At the end of the day, it's on the President Trump's record that he was impeached. That doesn't mean anything. He's still going to have, he's still the president. He's going to get reelected. It blows my mind that we raced through everything. We hit the Christmas season, and the brakes came on, and now Nancy's deflecting every question that comes across when it comes to this matter. She won't bring she could have brought him across already this morning, but she has no intent. I don't believe she has any intentions of doing it. They're still looking for a smoking gun.
Eric, let me ask you this part of it, and again, this comes into your own personal thinking and philosophy on this mess. Is a trial going to be a negative or a positive if it does go to trial for the Trump administration and the possible Trump reelection, or would it be better for McConnell to just take those papers to File 13 and set fire to the whole works?
You know, that's an interesting question, and I've thought a lot about that. So here's my personal opinion on this. I think there's dual sides to taking it to trial. I believe the Democrats are very afraid to take it to trial due to the skeletons that could fall out of their closet because they're not immune. This won't be a one-sided trial. So there's a lot of, contention, a lot of finger pointing that could go back to Schiff and his team where they have the Soros family in their hip pocket. You know, his interns are working with brands owned by the Soroses, we all know the Soros history, right? So, personally, I think McConnell should just go blow this up. I wish it was going to trial, but I just don't want, it's just going to turn into a really long taxpayer waste of time for the result being nothing's going to happen. So that's where we're at, right? I'll tie that back, put a bow on it. They're just not going to do anything. They're worried about what's going to come out because when it starts, you get to this level of trial, there's so much, everybody's dirt comes out. It's not just, let's go attack the president. It's going to be everybody. And we can start bringing in Joe and his, Hunter and start bringing back, why is everybody walking away with bags of cash? Right? We have, it just turns into a big, ugly turnaround.
We have a caller with a comment and a question, Eric, and then I want to follow up on that, what you just said just a moment ago. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Well, I think the Democrats have more to lose than we do. I noticed over the break at the top of the hour, John Bolton is enthusiastically ready to testify, and I don't quite know what his intent would be. And, is he a detractor from the president? And so I'll hang up. Thank you.
Eric, respond to that, please. I heard that come up on the CBS News at the top of the hour. What do you think about Bolton and possible testimony and all this other garbage?
Bolton, if you remember a few weeks ago, he got his Twitter back, and he went on this tangent about how the Trump administration took his Twitter. He really couldn't figure out what team he was playing for when he was on there. Now, a lot of information he has, he would not be able to testify publicly about. These trials are public, so it'll be interesting what Bolton wants to come out and say, because he could come across as a scorned lover. These high school, as I call anybody who comes out, the never Trumpers who are supposed to be loyal to the party, but they're just there to be a thorn in the president's side. Bolton, I personally think at the end of the day he won't testify. That's just my belief. I know he says he's going to, but he's waffled back and forth. He's also come out on in the president's defense when it comes to the airstrike last week and the continued airstrikes that we're doing. So at the end of the day, I don't think he's going to do anything. I just think he likes to make a lot of noise, as does most of these guys. Yeah, I'll testify. And then you kind of look into it and you go, wait a minute. You don't even have half the stuff that he was part of, he couldn't share publicly. So this is all classified information if he had any. And he wasn't part of that phone call. The whole point of what we're talking about, he was not on the phone that day. So his information would, again, be hearsay.
Eric, there's another aspect of this story that I want you to comment on, and I haven't heard hardly anybody bring it up on the national news, whether it's Fox or any other network. But the weak need not very strong or courageous lions called the Republican Party. They do become wishy-washy. In the past, they have been easily bent with the wind, one direction or the other. Do you anticipate the party staying firm on this, or are we going to see some fragmentation?
I think the party's going to stay firm on this. One thing that I have noticed has been that the party has come out and really attacked what the Dems are doing. There hasn't been, I mean, if you look at it from the record of the vote, right? You had one Dem vote president, all Republicans voted for party, and then you had another one vote nay, and then change over to become a Republican, right? I don't see the Republicans doing that, and even if that did happen, even if we went to trial, worst case scenario, it would still take 20 votes. There's not 20 Republicans who are going to turn on the president. Maybe one or two, that's to be expected. We had that even when we had McCain. So to me, I don't think, even if there is a fracturing of maybe onesie, twosies, we're not going to have 20. If this does go to trial, we don't have 20. The party is standing firm, and what's actually helping the party before we go this far is you're seeing what has come out in the last week. Think about how the Democrats are responding to us killing a terrorist. That's where you're seeing a huge fracture in their party versus ours. The Republicans are all standing together going, wait a minute, we don't need to do this and that. I think this airstrike, in a weird way, has actually helped bring our party tighter together because it's clear no matter what the president does, they're going to say it's bad, right? I mean, it's just everything. I mean, never before have you ever seen a terrorist killed who's killed and harmed over 600 Americans and watch a party basically go, oh, I'm so sad we killed a terrorist. It blows your mind.
There is another family that I want to talk about this morning with you, and you briefly mentioned their name earlier, but I want to elaborate a little bit, and that is Joe and Hunter Biden. I would have loved to have been a little mouse eating cheese in the corner of their dining room, listening to the Bidens at Christmas dinner, if they had one together, and hearing Joe say to Hunter, gee, Hunter, how much more about the Ukraine do I need to know to protect and deflect all these questions, and I need to make sure my campaign's not damaged. What do you think is going on in that family, and what are their fears about maybe this going to trial with Trump and, of course, his actions with the Ukraine?
You know, for that one, I thought the same question over the weekend. When I look at Hunter and I've been watching, Joe Biden do this, doing all his political, tour around for his campaign. The one thing I've noticed, and I'm sure you have too, is look at the way you can imagine. So you answer the question at their dinner table. It's high stress, high volume. How do you know that? Look how he's on the campaign trail. Look how he's responding to people asking questions about Hunter. He could take the high road. This is a statesman. He's supposed to be able to deflect. Instead, he's fat-shaming people, calling people names. No one's allowed to ask questions. It's very odd. You don't see that. His son was involved. His son got over $50,000 a month sitting on a board in the Ukraine. It's a matter we all need to understand why it was done and where the Soros is playing in that. That's the problem, and I think that's why Biden's numbers are falling, and you're seeing old man Sanders and, Elizabeth Warren move up quickly up the polls, and really you're even seeing Bloomberg do it because Biden is losing control because there's a lot of what-ifs, and they're not addressing the Ukraine at all. In fact, he's the only one who's not addressing it. They're deflecting. Every time he becomes like a teenager who's angry, right? He just lashes out if you ask the question. Instead of coming forth to the American people and saying exactly what his involvement was and what his son's involvement was, he deflects and gets angry and starts yelling at you for daring to ask questions. He's really good at name calling.
Well, and to follow up on what you just said, Eric, I think the same is true in another circumstance with Joe Biden. Joe Biden was asked over the last 48 hours in regards to how would you have responded with what President Trump did against General, I forgot his name all of a sudden, Soleimani. How would you have done it? And he said, well, I would have probably not done things a certain way. Well, if you think back to the Obama administration And Joe Biden was a dissenting vote to go after bin Laden, but he denied this. And I'm beginning to wonder, is it a lie, a liar's foundation, or is Joe Biden literally losing his mind and thinking that these things are not on videotape and audio tape?
That's a great question. When it comes to Biden, I just don't get it. You're right. He doesn't look at, there's a lot of evidence of him saying things out loud, even when you go back to the Gulf War. The first one, not the most recent, the Desert Storms I'll age myself, the Desert Storms of the day. I just think he's losing his marbles. I mean, come on, here's a guy running for office that said, I'm not going to go, I wouldn't accept the second term if I was elected. I mean, how many times in years have you heard any candidate on either side run for the greatest office in the land and say, I don't want a second term? Well, what? Wait, why? Like, you've never heard of Bush say that? They served as vice president and became president? It just doesn't make sense to me. I think there's some other things going on in Biden. I think Biden doesn't think he's going to win. I think Biden knows at the end of the day it's going to, when they shake the tree, he's going to be the one that falls out. And he's got some stiff competition. Of all the folks there's some stiff competition to come up against him that don't have the track record he does.
One final thought here, Eric, and of course we're all members of the media, but I consider myself to be a far-right conservative member of the media that's disgusted with comrades in this business that are just hell-bent every day, 24/7, 365, and going after and attacking and destroying Donald Trump. But the media itself, how do we go back to getting the media in an act of fairness and honest reporting of the news? We're far from that right now, my friend. How do we change it?
I don't have an answer for you, but to be brutally honest. I am blown away by the way the media has handled the impeachment, this entire presidency, and in the last 96 hours, how we have handled a terrorist being killed. It's the almost, having to read some of these posts where we're almost pushing this guy up as a hero that we killed. It's like everyone forgets all of the truths and everything that happened when we killed bin Laden. When, come on, how many airstrikes had President Obama ordered? Over 1,200, I believe, during his presidency. And no one came out against that because the best terrorist is a dead terrorist. So I wish the media would become fair reporting. As a member of the National Press Club, it's a question I ask myself all the time. So it needs to be turned around. They need to absolutely start being fair and unbiased in reporting that way. Tell the American people the truth about what's going on. Stop sugarcoating it or giving a slanted opinion. Give what's going on and let Americans base their opinion off of what they're reading.
We are only a matter of months away from the huge 2020 elections, and I think the hatred and the vitriol in this country is only going to escalate. What are your thoughts? I mean, can common sense prevail, or are we at an impasse to where the chasm between good, bad, evil, and honest thinking is going to be like the Grand Canyon? I mean, where are we right now?
I think we have the biggest fracture in my lifespan so far. We're at the biggest fracture I've ever seen, and I think it's getting worse. You saw it over the weekend. We had those protests throughout the country. Our friends Antifa showed up again. Their parents dropped them off for a few hours outside of the basement, and they went outside, kicking police cars, hitting reporters, people holding up signs in our country of this terrorist we killed, Mr. Soleimani. And I know that's not his name, but I just like calling him that. But that's where we're at, and I think it's only going to get worse as the rest of this year goes. The targeting done on the president, the hatred towards the president. But the good sign is, and it's funny to take the poll and see where the good sign is I don't know if you watched it. I did not watch it, but I saw the videos after, is Ricky Gervais last night at the Golden Globes roasting Hollywood. Basically telling them, don't get up here and be political because you know nothing. You live in a different world. That was great, and the media couldn't hide it. They had no choice. It went viral on all the social channels, and as much as the networks wanted to bury that comment, it can't get buried. People were filming that. It survived both the East Coast and West Coast tapings, so everyone was able to see that unfiltered, unedited everything that Ricky would say. For that, I hope that turns more people who are sitting there going, Ricky's got a point. These Hollywood people don't dictate my life. These folks on the left over at some of these fake news media outlets that cry and decry everything the president does is bad and evil. They're gonna be seen for exactly who they are. They're taking a vengeance on one person and spewing it as an American belief, and it's not.
Absolutely.
America's still the greatest country in the land. Our people will see through it because folks like you are on the radio sharing your beliefs and having the listeners out there. That's all it takes. It just takes voices of, we're still the greatest country in the world. We'll get through this together. We're not going to have another civil war. We just need people to be educated.
Amen. Amen. Gentlemen, the CEO of Life Flip Media, GOP political analyst, and a friend of this program, Eric Mitchell. I want one promise that you'll come back in this new year and visit us again in the future. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, anytime. Have yourself a great week.
All right, sir. Thank you. Eric Mitchell, and I appreciate his candid comments about what's going on with the so-called impeachment and everything else. Big mess on the left. I think basically what they've done is got up on the high dive and started off the springboard and then looked and realized that somebody forgot to put water in the pool. Anyhow, I've got one more good word, and then we're going to send it over to Wheels for a few moments. I want to give a great big shout-out to our friends at Patterson's Electronics at 421 East Main in Burley. Hello, Curtis and Lorena and the rest of the staff. Super nice people. If you're looking for a TV, holy smokes, they've got the best of Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs, that is. They've got a super selection, and don't forget, too, they've got all your electronics needs, home theater systems, video surveillance cameras, car stereos, and speakers. I urge you to stop in and see them today. They're open Monday through Saturdays 9 to 6, and they're easy to find, easy to work with. Wonderful people at Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley, 678-6997. Right now, let's send it over to Wheels, and I'll be back with my next guest in just about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our last half hour on the program for this morning. And we're going to go right to the phone line. And with us from the Pacific Legal Foundation, attorney Jim Manley. Jim, good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Not too bad. I hope you had a great Christmas and Happy New Year's and are ready for an outstanding 2020.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Thanks for asking. We got up to the snow. We do have some snow here in Arizona, and we got to enjoy a little bit of it for Christmas.
What part of Arizona are you a resident of? I'm coming down to your state in about 30 days, as a matter of fact.
Well, welcome. When you get here, I'm in Phoenix. I'm based in Phoenix.
Well, we're going to be at Wickenburg, as a matter of fact.
Oh, yeah. I was just talking to your producer about how nice Wickenburg is. It's a great little town, and some beautiful country up there.
Absolutely. You know, there's a story that I wanted to have you on and talk about, and I got to tell you, I don't understand a lot about what's going on with this California new contracting law regarding freelance journalists. To me, when I read it, and I'll be very honest, correct me if I'm wrong, it's almost like with this law in California, it will be another nail in the coffin for free speech. How far off base am I?
Well, unfortunately, not very far off base. You're actually pretty much right on the head. What California did was make it extremely hard to be an independent contractor. And then they said there are some people who are still allowed to be independent contractors and to be freelance journalists. But journalists are limited to 35 submissions a year, and they can't shoot any video. So if you're a freelance photographer, for example, and you're taking pictures for your local small-town newspaper, you're going to be a freelancer. They generally don't have the ability to have a big photojournalist staff, so they hire folks out, seniors who are, toward the end of their career, or folks who've got kids who want to stay home with their kids and have the flexibility to still do some work. So we're going to be shooting way more than 35 submissions a year. And under California's new law, they're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to be freelance independent journalists. They have to be employees of the newspaper. And what we're hearing from a lot of small town papers is they're just going to close up shop because they can't afford to have a staff. It just doesn't make any sense for them. They need this flexibility to hire freelancers, and California's putting an end to that.
This makes no sense to me. You kind of summed up what could be done and should be done and is being done by the freelancers at this time. But why? I mean, why was somebody irate enough or a group of somebody's mad enough to come in and say in California, well, we got to stop these people? Who are they hurting?
Well, we've seen this time and again from the folks in California government that they have this idea about how people should live their lives. And if you are not living your life the way they think you should be, then they're going to outlaw it. And that's what they did here. The folks in California thought, well, everyone should just have one job, and that should ideally be a union job, and that's it. And if you're a freelancer and you've got multiple clients and you're running your own business, that's not a good job. And that's a direct quote. The sponsor of this bill said that freelancers do not have good jobs, that they shouldn't have to have multiple clients. Well, you know what? The freelancers that we represent, they like that lifestyle. They like the flexibility. They like the security of being able to have multiple clients so that if one client decides not to use their services, well, they've got another client to fill in that gap. That sort of freedom, that sort of flexibility, that didn't fit with the worldview of folks who think that everyone should just have one job and that should be it. And so that's where a bill like this comes from folks trying to impose their view of how people should live on other folks.
Well, Jim, let me ask you this, and it crossed my mind while you were just talking. Aren't I in the crosshairs of the Democrats and people like Newsom in California as a freelance journalist? I own my own radio program. This is mine. It's not anybody else's. I control the content of this radio program. I go out and I solicit through my sales staff various and sundry different merchants and businesses to be on my program. Aren't I doing the same thing?
Absolutely. And, if you're syndicating your program to radio stations in California, you should be pretty nervous. And your listeners should be nervous, too, because, this doesn't just affect journalists. Journalists would have no job if not for their readers, for the folks who depend on this information that freelance journalists are creating. And so this affects everybody. It affects producers of news and consumers of news, and it really puts a wrench in this whole model of independent freelance journalism.
Well, okay, but now Gavin Newsom, I understand that this stupid, absurd law was signed into action by Gavin Newsom, who I think probably has the IQ of a hockey puck. How can this be fought and possibly overturned?
Well, we're doing that right now. We've sued the state of California on behalf of the American Society of Journalists and Authors and the National Press Photographers Association. And so PLF is taking the state to court, and we're asking a federal judge to put a stop to this law so that journalists can get back to work. Because we're already seeing publications blacklisting California journalists, saying it's just not worth it. We don't even want to deal with this 35-item limit. If you're a journalist based in California, we don't even want to deal with you. We've even seen local news coverage, websites that specialize in local news coverage, saying that they will not hire folks who are based in California to cover California because of this new law. So we're taking this to federal court and asking the federal court to put a stop to this discrimination against freelance journalism because it violates the First Amendment. The government cannot single out journalists and impose special burdens on them for I think, pretty obvious reasons.
Well, let me ask you this, Jim. I mean, what's the concern, and I'm sure there is one, by you and other people with Pacific Legal Foundation and other groups? What about this spreading like a cancer to other states?
It is a real concern, and it's actually already happening. New Jersey is considering a similar bill. New York is considering a similar bill. And fortunately, freelance journalists have really banded together in New Jersey, and I think California was sort of the canary in the coal mine, and they saw how bad things would be if they didn't fight back from the start. And so the journalists in New Jersey have been really doing a fantastic job of lobbying and trying to put a stop to this spreading. But, if California gets away with this, then it will only be a matter of time before other states start adopting it. And, California is the fifth largest economy, and so whatever California does has a big impact on the rest of the country. And so we really need to put a stop to this before it starts. Otherwise, freelance journalism is really going to suffer under this law.
I just absolutely am sitting here shaking and worrying about many of my guests on this program that would fall underneath the classification of freelance journalists that have written books and put forth movies or videographies of various subjects. I don't understand the merit as to how the stifling of free speech can be taken by California and stuffed in the trash can. Please help me. I'm still not understanding how they can push this forward.
Well, I think there was this expectation that if we outlaw freelancing, well, then everyone will just be hired, and then everyone will have a good job, and they won't have to worry about going out and finding clients. I really think that was the mentality of the folks who passed this bill, and it completely ignores that there are folks who love being freelancers, who love that freedom and flexibility, and wouldn't want any other kind of lifestyle. They don't want to go to a newsroom every day. They don't want to have to report to a one editor. They want the flexibility to be able to be in charge of their own careers, and that's what they get as freelancers. And that sort of freedom and independence just didn't make sense to the folks that passed this bill, which I think gives you some insight into the way that they view the world.
Well, I'm just going to say this, and again, correct me with your expertise, Jim, but to me, this is just nothing more, pardon me, but to create a group think. If you're outside of that group think, your voice is stymied and stopped forever. And it's a way to destroy conservative values and conservative think tanks, if you will. And if you don't belong to the group think, we've got you, and you're going to fade off into obscurity. That's what it sounds like to me.
That's the way that I see it. I see this as a challenge. It's not just a challenge to freelance journalism. It's a challenge to this idea that we are in charge of our own lives, and that if we decide to work as freelance journalists rather than a staff journalist, then that's our choice. And, when the next time you're reading the news, you pick up the newspaper, or you're reading a blog, or you're listening to a radio program, consider that it's likely that some of the folks that you're enjoying their work, they are freelance journalists, and they've chosen that life for themselves, and we need to respect that choice. And if the government won't respect it, then we're going to have to force them to respect it by going to court and enforcing the Constitution.
Maybe I'm way out on the wrong limb when I ask you this question, Jim, but aren't most book writers, aren't they basically freelance journalists? Wouldn't they be subjected to the same school of thought?
Absolutely. There's no distinctions in this bill about how you produce your content. And so other than to ban video production for freelance journalists. But if you're writing books, if you're writing articles, if you're just writing short blurbs on a website and you do 10 in a day, that counts as 10 submissions, and you're going to run up against that limit very quickly. If you're writing a book, and you're definitely considered a freelance author, if that's the way you've negotiated things with your publisher, and absolutely that's terrifying to people they've got book contracts they're ready to sign, and they're worried that if if they sign their contracts under California's new law, that they're going to lose the rights to those books that they've worked very hard to create. One of the members of the American Society of Journalists and Authors has a fantastic, fascinating book about her relationship with a very well-known author. I won't say who, because I don't want to give away her book, but it's a fascinating story, and she's written a book about it, and she wants to keep the rights to the movie rights or the serialization rights. She wants to hold on to that. And if she's deemed an employee of her publisher, then she'll lose that.
Yeah.
She'll lose what she's worked for so hard. And so that's another dimension of this, where these journalists and authors are losing the right to their work if they become employees. And there's very little flexibility to work around that under this California law.
What would you tell my audience, knowing now that this absolutely stupid law is in effect in California? What would you tell my audience that, A, they need to be aware of, or B, what they can do to help combat it?
Well, this law started out, a lot of the press about this describes it as a law that's aimed at Uber and Lyft and the other sort of gig economy platforms. And it even, I think, started out, as I said, with good intentions, that these folks in Sacramento thought that everyone should live their life in this particular way. And they really sincerely believed that was a good thing. So the thing to look out for is when you see a law that's taking away choice from someone else, ask yourself, is this really the policy we want to have for everybody? Is this a policy I would want to apply to my own decisions about my career? And fight back. If you see your legislature start taking these sorts of actions that limit your ability to be in charge of your own career, fight back by contacting your legislator. Fight back by contacting Pacific Legal Foundation and talking with us about whether there's something we can do to help. If the legislature doesn't see the light, we have to drag them into court to defend your rights.
Jim, please, in the time remaining, when you say that about the Pacific Legal Foundation, tell my audience exactly how they can follow this story and others with Pacific Legal.
If you go to pacificlegal.org, we've got a beautiful website that explains all of our litigation, defending property rights, defending economic liberty, defending free speech, and you can learn more about our work there and also submit your own case if you're facing a challenge with the government and you think we might be able to help. We'd love to hear from you at pacificlegal.org.
This is a story that really concerns me, and I'm going to stay on top of this and probably give your office another call. If anything changes, please come back on this program as soon as you can. I would appreciate it. Pacific Legal Foundation attorney Jim Manley, thank you for being on the program this morning.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
God bless. Thank you very much. This really is a concerning law, and if there's going to be any idiocy introduced to our United States of America, it's going to be very possibly through California. And California Governor Gavin Newsom, a man that I absolutely despise, has signed this law into effect, and like you heard Jim Manley say moments ago, it's probably going to spread like a cancer to other states. And when I mentioned about my radio program or anybody's radio program, it could be Rush Limbaugh, it could be anyone. We're all freelancers, if you will, owning this, and then we supply the content for this program. Very dangerous in the stifling and possibly stopping of free speech in the United States. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Time for the weather, and I'd appreciate some calls after the weather, if you would please, at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget our friends at Scarrows Meats. I talked to a lot of folks the last couple of weeks, and they said they went over and they got their tri-tip, or they got the pork ribs, or they got the bacon, or they got the sausage, or the bratwurst for the holiday gatherings from Scarrows Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657, or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. We'll take that call right after we have the weather. Here's Gina.
Fairly decent as we kick off the week, but as we make our way towards the weekend, maybe some snow showers. Here's a look at your weather for today. Mostly sunny skies, a little bit of a breeze out of the southwest at about 15 miles an hour, gusts as high as 30. We are expecting a high of 36. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 25. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a high of 38. Now by Tuesday, we do have a 30% chance of snow showers, mostly in the overnight hours, expecting a low of 28. Accumulations of less than a half an inch possible. By Wednesday, more snow is possible, mostly cloudy, high of 37. Then by Thursday, expecting mostly cloudy skies and 32. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, thank you very much, and brought to everybody by Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew wishing you a very Merry Christmas, as they did before I left the air 2 weeks ago, and now a Happy New Year. 324-7657, and they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time at Scarrows Meats. Caller, good morning, and thank you for your call.
Can you imagine living in Oregon, Washington, or California and having the state house that those people have to live with? Because there are normal, logical, practical patriots who live in those states, and I couldn't even believe it. If Brad Little was off his rocker as the governors of those three states, I don't know. You know, if I wouldn't be up there in my every spare moment I had standing outside of his office, and, you know, I don't know. It's insanity. And these people, out of all the things that are going on in their states, this is the one of the, sure, he said it was intentional, they had good intentions. I don't know. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Let's face it, if you can shut down free speech, the right, the logical thinking, and you can control the elections. Like somebody said earlier today, there may never be another Republican elected anywhere.
Randy, we're in a situation right now that I don't think a lot of people really appreciate or understand, because their lifestyle, they're so busy. Maybe they're taking their kids all over the country to basketball and volleyball and everything else. But wait a minute, stop, smell the coffee, and really understand that we're in a critical situation now of having the First, the Second Amendment, and many other of our freedoms taken away from us under the table without too much knowledge by the American public. I'm very concerned. I am scared when he said that it would affect almost everyone, from freelance journalists to videographers, photographers, and possibly even radio talk show hosts and others. I mean, we're looking at a complete stopping and stifling of free speech in America. We've got to fight back.
I'm telling you, man, if we don't, we will deserve what we get. And you see, that's the thing. You know, the good, hard-working people of this of America that are patriots, they're out working, supporting their family, trying to do the right thing. We ain't got a bunch of time to sit around tweeting and sitting in our parents' basement or protesting or whatever. It's a scary thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have free will, baby, and if we don't take charge of our lives and our country's direction, we're done. And I don't know, Zeb. I mean, think about it. Montana waffles back and forth. They say Arizona's headed purple. You know, in Virginia, just to give you a little idea, and then I'll hang up. The communists, the Chinese communists, are supporting the people, the grassroots efforts to turn Virginia from red to blue, and this is how many houses they knocked on to turn it. 2.5 million homes they knocked on their doors.
Yeah.
They signed up 300,000 voters that were going to vote Democrat, and this is all fact. I can show it.
No, I know you're right, and all the more reason for alarm and action. Alarm and action in 2020 to help preserve a conservative viewpoint. Randy, I got to run, but God bless you, man. Be sure and tune in tomorrow morning. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you. Want to remind everybody about our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. These are my friends. These are your friends serving you with the best of tires for whatever the weather throws at you. Believe me. And they've got all your tire chains, too. I mean, hey, they've got all the sizes, all the tread designs. They can take care of all vehicles. Please get in there today. And don't forget, too, the best in brake service and front-end alignments and shocks and struts and batteries. But above all, and I stress this every time I get a chance to talk to you about them, the best in service. They really care, and they really take care of you. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Don't forget, tomorrow morning we'll saddle the horse and ride again starting at 8:06 for 3 hours. And in that first hour, we're going to be talking about an editorial that was in Saturday's paper that absolutely infuriated me. We'll talk about that and many other things on Zeb at the Ranch, where we always end the program by saying the way things were, the way things ought to be, and 4 words that mean the most: in God we trust. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.